I think it's time just to take a step back and admire the greatness of Kuroki Gensai and what he's done for Kengan Omega. 200 chapters of pretty much up and downs throughout the story, all of us wanting him to fight, and then when we finally get it, it's against someone perceived as untouchable, with many saying Kuroki is just going to be the next sacrifice in the story. However, so far in his fight against Shen Wulong, our almighty beard is pretty much winning the fight currently based on the amount of damage he's done to the connector compared to what the connector's done to him, which is absolute insanity. And just take this line from him in the recent chapter: "There is no such thing as flawless strength. Prepare yourself, Shen Wulong." Reminding us once again that Kuroki is the one-line champion as well. If you remember back to Kengan Ashura, he was known for stuff like that. I'm glad that's coming back, and even against someone much stronger than pretty much anyone else Kuroki has ever faced. And once again, he gets more praise from Shen in this chapter, talking about his Devil Lance and how he must have trained pretty hard to acquire that. And yes, he did. Devil Lance, still to this day, is probably one of the most mastered techniques in the entire series. We've had some comparable comparisons when it comes to mastery, namely Jirota's judo mastery in my opinion. This wasn't outright confirmed, however, based on Kuroki's line about Jirota back in the Purgatory tournament, my belief is that he was talking about Jirota's master of judo, comparing it to his mastery of the K1 style, or of course his Devil Lance. We do see Shen send Kuroki flying through this wall. However, the damage done to Kuroki doesn't seem to be that significant, of course due to his defense being so extreme, but Kuroki also points out that Shen is someone that doesn't have any openings, and that the only chance he really has to land an attack is through counters when Shen throws the first blow. Kuroki is able to block the attack or tank it per se, while landing his own counter with the Devil Lance, which is naturally more lethal. However, a major thing revealed in this chapter that's probably going to be an aspect talked about the most after this chapter is Shen saying the following: "From what I can tell, you've only made it to pre-initiative, haven't you? But you're not using your foresight right now." So a quick reminder, pre-initiative is regarded as the pinnacle of foresight within the Kengan Omega universe, or that's what we thought previously, with Canada's variation of foresight kind of developing in a different way, but used to actually counter pre-initiative, so it could be argued to be on the same tier of development as pre-initiative, however it isn't the same. But the main point here is Shen saying, "From what I can tell, you've only made it to pre-initiative." That means there's abilities far beyond pre-initiative, and I'd like to take a guess that's probably Shen's principles he talked about when facing Gaimakaku. Why he's so overpowered, because he understands the fundamentals of everything to an insane degree. The principle of Wulong's fighting style allows him to deal the most damage with any blow possible based on what we've seen so far. But Kuroki's defense so far is able to pretty much deal with this fighting style quite well, and he's pretty much winning the fight currently by doing a simple tactic of just countering Shen's attacks with his Devil Lance, which he praises not as like this extreme Giga Brain thing, something that in reality is quite simple, however the execution is pretty much genius. It's very possible that in the future of the story, a lot of the main characters are going to be working on their own development of principles, since a lot of characters actually have pre-initiative now. If you remember like 10 or so chapters ago, we just saw Hatsumi beginning to unlock pre-initiative, something that in Kengan Ashura only the likes of Kuroki Gensai and Kano Gito were able to use. There are arguments that Oma was able to use subtle bits of it based on implications back in Ashura, however the full confirmation came in the Lo Long fight, with Lo Long also being able to use it. There's not many characters, however there is a lot more compared to Kengan Ashura, meaning naturally we'll need the next evolution of this type of ability, which I'm guessing is principles, but we'll have to wait and see. And based on everything that's happened so far, it looks like Shen is very excited in fighting Kuroki. When he first pulled up, he wasn't really interested whatsoever. However, after these few exchanges, with Shen already claiming that Kuroki is the strongest person he's met in Japan, it looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting fight that's going to be ramping up in the next coming chapters. However, let's talk about the other fights that are also occurring currently. So, Kanogito vs Yan, even though we haven't got to see much of it when it comes to exchanges, the stuff Yan is doing in this chapter makes me pretty much impressed to a degree. Rather than 100% focusing on the likes of Kanogito, one of the strongest characters in the entire Kengan-verse, he's thinking about the connector and how the Kengan Association, or how these fighters were able to find them in this hotel, working out that they have a traitor on the inside. So he's able to think about all this while fighting someone like Kanogito, which is insanely impressive. I hope we cut more to this fight and actually see the abilities of Yan, as I'm very interested in that, and we haven't really got any showing so far. When it comes to the other fight, the pretty much knife battle, I'm still thinking Lo Long won't have an insane amount of trouble, with him being pretty much the most veteran worm killer in the series, killing over 100 claimed by this guy, probably close to 1,000 at this point, so man is definitely going to get another one added to his record in that regard. And it's very possible we could be having like all three of them teaming up on Shen at some point, but we'll have to wait and see. The other main reveal we got in this week's chapter is regarding Lu Han approaching the likes of Tokita Oma and Garouki, saying the following, which is of course insane as well. So right at the gate he claims, "Hey, your big brother's here," meaning Lu Han, as expected, was cloned before Oma or Ruki. However, this once again brings us back to the line from the connector about Oma saying he's not a clone of him, and then also what Shen said in the previous chapter about Lu Han, saying that he's not me, meaning it's very possible that Lu Han and Oma are clones of another, a different connector, and that Ruki is the only per se pure clone of Shen himself. This of course is very interesting, as we know the current connector is a clone of the previous generations, and more so the first type of the new variation of cloning, I believe, where they aren't using that whispering in the ear manipulation Wu/Kure clan ability. There's another method behind the current Shen, meaning the previous version of Shen that we got to see in some of the flashbacks facing Mukaku's grandfather, or the one in the flames during the scene of young Iruo and young Metsudo, could be the one Oma and Lu Han are clones of, while Ruki is a clone of the current connector Shen Wulong. However, none of these fighters actually know about this. If you remember to the context of Shen actually revealing this, he's like, "Since you're about to die, I might as well tell you, Oma is not me, killed him, that's the end of it." Meaning it's most likely the case that no one outside of Yan probably knows the truth about all this, which can't wait for all that to be revealed. But the main thing Lu Han says to Oma and Ruki is, "Let's work together as brothers to kill the connector," meaning he has become a traitor on the worm, which, going into his reveal however many chapters ago it was now, not that long, the theory was, is Lu Han actually opposing the worm, or is he with the worm? Then a few chapters later we learn that he's with the worm due to that whole scene. But after getting absolutely clapped by Shen, it looks like he's become a traitor. However, I'm assuming he's been planning this for some time. And if you think back to the reason Shen actually hit him, he mentioned pretty much Lu Han threatening Joji, which if you don't know, we didn't actually get to see that in the chapter. Apparently in the draft version of the Kengan Omega chapter for that week, also included Lu Han and Yan, meaning it's possible that they just made a mistake with that being claimed, which is a little unfortunate and does make it quite confusing, as it's pretty much published at this point. But maybe when they go through the official Japanese release in the physical volumes, they will actually change that around or add something, but who knows. That's what I was told by some people regarding that scene. Which brings us to the question moving forward. How are they going to actually kill the connector? Does Lu Han know a secret weakness of him? Hopefully that gets explored, but I'm still mostly excited for Kuroki's greatness, and of course the other fighters facing the worms, peak Kangen is occurring right now. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's more chilled out discussion video. Check out the other stuff in the description. Become a member if you want more benefits, including the ability to suggest video topics. Subscribe, shout out to the Mad Lads, and that's it guys. Peace.